Hi, another film I've been clearing out from my hard disk was last week's Sunday night film, Desperately Seeking Susan. It was released in 1985 and was the major acting debut of Madonna. She plays Susan herself, a woman who communicates with her uh, musician boyfriend through newspaper columns and personal ads. And this has attracted the attention of Roberta, a disillusioned housewife in New Jersey. She follows the saga of Susan and Johnny um, in their discussions, and when she discovers they're going to actually meet in public, she goes along and is keen to get a sight of the two lovebirds. However, there is a mix-up, and she winds up hitting her head and being mistaken for Susan, while Susan herself is involved with mobsters and the theft of some priceless Egyptian earrings. And the whole plot revolves around the two being mistaken for each other. Um, a whole uh, chase across New York, a hitman played by Will Patton. Um, Roberta falls in love with a man who thinks he's falling in love with Susan, but is actually the best friend of Susan's real boyfriend, and it's all a lot of things going on. In short, I enjoyed it. It was quite different from what I was expecting. Um, it's ostensibly a kind of caper comedy, mistaken identity situation, but a lot of it is played much more straight. It's more of a comedy drama than a straight comedy, with many scenes that are played more lightly without going for the humorous element. That's not necessarily a bad thing. In the context, it actually works rather well. But it's an unusual choice to have rather a sort of a light drama with thriller elements and a little bit of comedy, rather than being a comic thriller, which it would otherwise be. It is, that said, enjoyable enough. Patricia Arquette as Roberta is very good. Madonna makes a complete, total impression straight away as Susan, and the way she then sort of flips the tables and then gets involved in Roberta's life. When she's trying to chase down what's going on, she meets Roberta's husband, who is a mid-80s button-down square, and she takes him to a club, and then they go home and they smoke marijuana together, and it's all very. I think, where is this going? Are they going to end up with each other's husbands? And the whole thing is resolved in a very satisfying way. Everyone gets what they want, apart from the bad guy who goes to prison, and um, it's it's a satisfying resolution to the movie. It feels like quite a date movie in that it's a film that has thriller elements that might appeal to the boys. It has female protagonists getting one over on the girls. It has sort of romantic male characters who are likable without being too macho-y. There's a sense of the the bad the bad male characters are the more macho ones, and the sympathetic ones are more artistic. Her boyfriend is a musician. Her best friend, his best friend, who falls for Roberta, is a cinema projectionist. They're more involved in the arts and less involved in big business. So it's an interesting snapshot of the time, particularly the music, which is by Thomas Newman of all people, who decades later would work with Sam Mendes. He'd write music for the Bond movies and 1917. Here it's much more 80s new wave music. Madonna's Into the Groove is on the soundtrack, although it's an early demo version rather than the finished track. And it's definitely is a capturing of a time and place. It's sort of post Taxi Driver New York, but pre it being cleaned up and turned into a tourism destination. It's at a point where New York knew that it had to get better, but wasn't being made to. So it's attractive in a kind of earthy, grungy way. Um, so as a snapshot in time, it's interesting and it's engaging, and so the characters are likable and fun. The plot's pretty strong. It's not as light and not as fun as perhaps it might be, but that's not necessarily to the film's detriment. And overall, I would say that I recommend it.